I think, the thing that I did like about wushu is that it's different than karate or taekwondo,
Mm-hmm.
and whereas karate and taekwondo have a lot of like really powerful masculine movements, and it's just like huh, huh, and you're stepping and punching and huh.
Mm-hmm.
Wushu is very flow. It's very like almost like tai chi. So it does have that really kind of circular energy, but it also has that jing and that like just power that when you like fly across the room and do all these like kicks and then you stop and you pose, kind of like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon,
Mm-hmm.
that style of kung fu. So yeah, I actually found it really, really balancing. And I think I've always sought that balance in movement and in everything. But yeah, like just having that flow is so important. That circular energy, that feminine energy is so important, alongside the linear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, when you got into fire performance, you were able to bring a lot of this training and this balance into your performances. What kind of state of mind do you find you have to be in before you perform using fire?
I always kind of say a prayer for, just safety and removing obstacles, and that for my performance to always kind of represent the highest and be of service to, you know, human potential.
Mm-hmm.
And um, so, yeah, and it's an outlet for me to express something that's just in my soul, as far as like that I love going really fast. It's kind of my jam. I like spinning really fast, and but also the slow. Again, there's like the spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
the slow element of just really honoring the flame and the element of flame and how representative it is to our human spirit.
That's wonderful. And what fire tools are your favorite to work with?
Well, staff. I started with long staff, so I've always loved the feeling of that and the flow of that. And then there came a day when I was like, how can I split this in two? And then it became double staves, and that opened up a whole new realm of possibilities with movement and twice the flame and balance for the left and right sides of your body, because it's like one side of your body's got one thing going really well and it can do, and the other side's like, I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
And then so it's like, okay, my right side can teach my left side how to do this, and my left side can teach. So then kind of just that, creating those neural pathways. Fire fans, the same. Like, and I used to kind of think back in the day, I didn't think much of fans because I thought they were kind of easy. Like everybody could do them, but
Mm-hmm.
now they're getting so techy, and there's so much. So I'm finding new love for fans. And sword. I had a sword form when I was younger too, and so a lot of staff spinning is actually training for sword. Um, so it's a lot of similar movement, and I love fire sword and just yeah. And then headdresses, got into headdresses, which is a whole kind of other element of just balance and kind of representing and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
all the things.
Now, with your yoga background, you talked about your exploration of the left and right brain, and bringing balance to that. Um, where does all this dance movement come in with bringing that balance for you?
So yeah, when I first learned Ascension, which is the style of meditation that I went to study at 18, um, there was the basic understanding that the left and right brains work a little differently. Left brain is more analytical, it's more conceptual. It tends to want to understand the details, like synchronicity and pattern, and um, it wants to understand, and it ascends, or it actually goes beyond its lower nature by trying to understand something that it can't quite grasp, but it wants to. Like the
Mm-hmm.
concept of infinity, or the concept of standing here, we are stuck to the planet, and we're looking out into space, and where does that even go? And what is happening?
Mm-hmm.
That's the left brain ascending. The right brain is the feminine aspect. It's the emotional nature, and it ascends or rises above itself through emotion. So positive emotions like appreciation, gratitude, love, compassion, versus the lower kind of, anger, frustration, judgment. That's kind of how it descends. So utilizing those two very different impulses can bring about a state of heightened awareness, or what Abraham Maslow determined as the peak experience, or a state of flow. So the more you can tap into the brain's natural abilities, the experience of multitasking becomes more, and like the ability to perceive more than one thing at a time, and to understand more than one thing at a time in your own body. So that's kind of where it started, and then belly dance moved me into figure eight movements, and figure eights are again like kind of that left brain, right brain, super balancing motion. So moving in that way, and then isolating rhythm and melody, which is rhythm is a left brain movement, paternal, pata, pattern. The father is that pattern. What we pattern, mata, or materializes, mother. It becomes through the mother, it materializes. So what we pattern, what we do on a regular basis, materialize. I like the roots of words, yeah. But basically, like the pattern or the rhythm is the masculine element, whereas the feminine energy is that flow and that circular, sensual movement. It's melody in music, and so in belly dance, those two movements, those two different energies are isolated in the dance and in your body. So you're actually like doing both at the same time, which is kind of like patting your head and rubbing your stomach, and being able to separate those two qualities again, and also experience them at the same time, is really healing for the whole nervous system and the brain, and allows you to step back into that third place, that witness place of flow. And it just goes from there. Like, and then, fire adding that other element of flow arts and having a prop is like next level, and then trying to do all of it at the same time. Like,
oh, that's incredible. I know exactly what you're talking about. And it sounds like even your meditation work has definitely led you into a higher understanding of your firework and your fire performance and what you're doing with your body. That's almost to say that in order to unlock a flow state, you have to have a perfect balance of both of your hemispheres working in coordination. And I've met many people who have never experienced a flow state or have never gotten to one. And it might just be that they're not living a perfectly balanced life. They might be living too chaotically, too much in the chaos, in the left brain, or there might be too much in the right brain, stuck like in order. Or did I get those switched? I think it's,
yeah. No, I hear you. And I think everybody does have, propensity towards, or inclination towards one side or the other. But that's the beauty of flow art, is that you can teach yourself, what your one side might be lacking. You can teach with your other side, or you can go to workshops and learn and get out of your comfort zone. Like some people are super techie, and they are like so in the technical that they maybe lose some of the flow, and then some people are so in the flow that they're just like not really techie. And it's about balancing, but it's also about being true to your own expression too, for sure.
And I know that it can also be a really good learning tool in order to go into a flow state, because that intense like hyper focus almost that happens when your body is moving almost without thinking, and you're keeping up with a rhythm, but you're also reacting in real time, to the kind of minute changes that happen. I took a class by Mark Wildman before, and he called it creating a cognitive load, to where you are literally overloading your brain with so much stimulation that it forces both of your hemispheres to engage and your entire mind to then fixate on the task at hand. And I think when you incorporate fire in it suddenly brings in this element of danger. And that element of danger ends up getting your full attention.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have to work past your fear, your fight or flight instincts, as well as think about, the music, the fire, the light, what's going on, the tricks you want to perform, as well as like the prop, and then also how your body's feeling and how you move at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I know over the years, I've definitely noticed that if I'm not balanced and centered, like, it's like Jordan Peterson might say, if your room's not clean, then you're a citizen of hell, and that you're going to be in this disorder and all this chaos around you, and that's going to reflect in everything you do in life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's a time and a place to just work that out through your flow too. And, I think practice and like that's for me, I would just go to the park, do my yoga, put my headphones in and play with my props, basically just spin my staff and work it out. And sometimes, yeah, you're going through stuff, but fire is also really cleansing. And, performing with fire or spinning it is so, it's a spiritual activity in my opinion, and it can cleanse stuff in your aura and in a space that you're in. So that's good to be aware of also. But nobody's perfect and we're all on the journey, and that's why flow art is becoming more, it's like getting out there so much more, and people are finding like it's so enjoyable because it has that left brain, right brain element, just like any good music does too. And the thing about like electronic music, and when that kind of came on the scene, and as far as like flowing to electronic music, the spectrum of perfection within electronic music is so huge. You've got like the digital reality of like the perfection of digital, and then you've also got these like the spectrum of bass and like melody and like the whole womp, and so putting both together in this like polyrhythmic super, it makes your brain do cool things too. And then adding, dancing to that is so enlivening, and then adding a flow prop on top of that. And a lot of my practice has just been surrendering to the music and allowing the music to show me what to do, and then just kind of like figuring out, oh, hey, I could incorporate some of the technique that I learned here, and like, oh, I could make this a thing. And, but a lot of it is just like, where does the music lead you to go? How does the music move you?
Mm-hmm. And then you also briefly talked about how it can definitely help you get through some hard times and deal with a lot of pain. I know myself, I spend my dragon staff, and a good amount of practice I spent on that was, thinking through and dealing with a lot of like tragedies in my life at that time. And if you wouldn't mind going into it, what is some of the ways that flow arts has kind of helped you regain your strength?
Regain my strength.
Or get you through some of those darkest days?
Yeah. I think it's something that serves a higher purpose. It's something that is offered, and offering your art is so healing, as opposed to just, going down the spiral and like feeling useless and like, what's the point? And someone else is doing it, and someone's probably doing it better, and all of the like internal defeating like programming that everybody probably deals with.
Kind of like imposter syndrome.
Yeah, you kind of, and who hasn't like allowed themselves to not do, so many things because of those thoughts. And so offering it, whether it's even just to yourself in your own backyard or like on a stage, it's so healing and so important, because everyone else, that's what they want to do too. They want to express themselves. They want to have a support for their craziest, it's like the guy who juggles in Cirque du Soleil. He juggles like 1,000 juggling balls, right? It's like, how many hours did he spend in his room? And people are like, oh God, he's juggling again. I don't know, like, what the hell he's doing. Like, you're wasting his family was like, you're wasting your life. I'm sure, you went through all of that, and you have to go through all of that as an artist because you're doing something that's never been done in the way that you do it before. So you're pulling from the ethers, from the unknown. You're pulling from that other world of imagination, and you're creating it, and you're saying this, and you're giving it away. And so it's like, it doesn't really matter the manifestation of it as much as the fact that you're offering it, and that you keep offering it, and you keep giving it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow, that's very well said. Especially when you put your art out there for people to see. If it's something that you're really passionate about and you're really, you spend hours of your day working on, and then you display it, a lot of times it's really easy for people, even if they don't fully understand it, to notice just how much you have meticulously worked on something and how much this must mean to you. And through that, I think, is where, you start to find understanding in art and expression. And I know I've been, awestruck many times by either a large art piece or a really good song. And even to the point of knowing, don't know, why this person created this art, but I really hope that it helped them get through whatever they're getting through, or that, their message is like being very well understood.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I read an interesting thing about Edgar Allan Poe, where it said that whenever you are such a strange individual that you feel like nobody in the world understands you, you create art or you create poetry in order to hope that one day somebody might find it and somebody might get it. And so in a way, it's almost like the ultimate selfless thing you can do is to create some art to kind of try and express your own feelings in the hopes that somebody else might understand that they're not alone and feeling the same way you are.
Yeah, and then ultimately give permission, if it's needed, for anyone else to step into their most crazy, expressive, imaginative, wild self, whatever that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're all providing as artists. We're all providing that permission for one another, and slowly for the mainstream to catch up, which it is, yay. But it's just that permission to express our innermost, weirdest being, and have support for it, even though we've all probably gone through periods where there might not have been support, and that's okay too, because we're doing it for ourselves ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
And then the reception is the icing on the cake, really, and that's kind of, I started, and it was just a healing journey for me. It was something that I needed to be comfortable with in my own body, to move in belly dance in the way that it's a very sensual dance. And I had a lot of like blockages and issues around it being okay to move that way, and it being like something that I could celebrate and be safe, and to express that feminine energy. And so moving through that, and then watching that permission kind of ripple out, and seeing so many women now like rising in and claiming their authority in that way is like, yeah, good. Because it wasn't that way 20 years ago. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yoga wasn't a household word, and, people, like, there was very, like, belly dance was just something that some women did as kind of a cute little hobby thing. It wasn't like a career. It was just a very different world. And it's been so great to see in my lifetime how much, those performance arts have come, and how far they've come, so.
Well, it's also incredible on how you took something where you had your own blockages and discomforts with like dance in your body, and you worked all the way through it to the point now that it's become a career for you,
Mm-hmm.
and almost you've taken one of your biggest fears and you've turned it into, one of your biggest strengths now.
Right.
And I mean, I've only known you for about 2 years since we first started mainly doing like Pyrotechs and Burning Man 2018. But tell me about some of the performances and places you've gone to.
So,
Like, what's the first one that
yeah,
sticks out in your mind? A
gosh.
show you did recently, maybe.
Well, I've traveled kind of all over the states. Got involved with some of the DJs that I do like the music festivals, the bigger. I like the transformational festival scene more than kind of the bigger ones. Ones that have like a really strong intention behind them, and so I like Sonic Bloom. I like Symbiosis. I just did Mayan Heart Festival in Guatemala, which was really sweet and more about visiting Tikal and like the sun and moon pyramids and doing like this Mayan ceremony on the December 21st this year, which was really amazing.
Ooh, tell me about
It
that.
was so intense. So all these Mayan elders got together and they were saying that that was the end of a 5,000 year cycle. So I think it was perhaps the time that people were predicting for 2012 was actually this last December 21st, winter solstice.
Hmm.
So they kind of called in the star beings, and a bunch of amazing people showed up for this festival, but we were all kind of carted off to Tikal on the day and did these offerings to the 20 Mayan gods, and just had some really transformative experience. Deodova was there, Desert Dwellers, Gaudi, just
Hmm.
like really all these sweet people that are making music from intention. And I think that's the other element of this whole community is there's the flow arts, but then there's also the musicians and the music makers who are conscious of what their music is doing to the brain and how it's unifying people in mass numbers. And so, and taking people on the intentional journey. So I tend to kind of stick to those those musicians and producers. I worked with Quixotic for since 2013, touring with them, and worked on a show in Miami Beach with them, which was really amazing experience. They're an incredible group of people, and definitely taking performance art to the next level. Traveled with them a lot, and like we went to Haiti and all over. And then this last year, I did my little summer tour, and I did Red Rocks with Spangle, and for the 2 day last live performance.
I got to go to that show with my
Oh,
girlfriend,
nice!
and that was my first time at that theater, as well as getting to see you
So
perform
epic.
live on stage. That was incredible. I was
Yeah,
like, oh no, there's Ishani on live.
yeah, yeah. That was like a dream-like experience, and partially because I was so sleep deprived because I had like taken red eye flights to New York and back, both
Hmm.
red eye, and then Miami and back, like all that week. Got back to Miami same day, flew to Red Rocks that night, and performed on Friday. And like, it was like, so I was in the sleep deprived, like kind of, and I don't do drugs, I'm sober. So like, I felt like that was my reference point was so skewed, and then I kind of like was aligned with everyone who was smoking DMT in copious amounts. And, like, it was very
That
dreamlike.
entire audience smelled like burnt
It was
tires.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a wild show for sure.
But it's an honor. And again, I've known like Simon Posford since 2010, and been able to perform with him along the way. And just, I think it's just, it's tribe, and it's recognizing that we're all on this journey of exploring human potential in our various ways of expressing our art, towards that. And it's an honor to be in the community, and to offer, my piece of the puzzle.
Hmm.
So,
And I mean, not a lot of people get those opportunities. What would you say, like, even just talking to, your younger self or a young performer, who maybe might have been you just, 10 years ago or 20 years ago, starting off, like, thinking about that struggle and now, like, what would you tell them?
I would say to be true to yourself, and even if that looks like something that's never been seen before, um, don't compromise your integrity for any amount of money. Um, it's it's like a bridge of it's like that bridge in Indiana Jones, when he's
Mhm.
crossing to go get the grail, and like the bridge is invisible, and it's that literally a leap of faith to find, and it takes an intense amount of struggle too, and like honing like any craft to find your unique expression, but it's worth protecting, and it's worth um, committing to, because it leads not only to your own fulfillment, but also, more often than not, it will be really well received, because that's what everyone is looking to do. We've all been fed this 9 to 5 society structure. And in actuality, this world is a playground, and we came to play, and we came to, enlighten and enliven. And, I just say you do you, boo. Be true to yourself, no matter what. And even if it looks like it might not be like security and financially secure and like the, smart thing or whatever, like I've always said, my social security is my social network. And, that's where I invest my time, and my energy is in my community and in my tribe, and knowing that we're all taking care of each other, and, we're supporting each other, and that we don't have to submit to the man, and that man, that's why it's burned every year, because that's what Burning Man is. It's burning the man. It's saying, you know what? I'm going to do what I want to do, and I don't need to work for someone else and sell my time and my creativity for, what, some kind of stability that I end up having to work for always, and like my time is so wrapped up in all of that. So just say, like, recognize what you want to do and just go after it wholeheartedly, because like it's the only game in town.
But very well said. It also seems to create this trap of the 9 to 5 of materialism that comes with it. And I think it's because you spend so many I mean, I had a 9 to 5 job for several years and 2 different careers I left, and I was working in computer tech support and stuff. But you hit this point to where your free time or these few days off when you're not doing overtime, and you end up just buying stuff just so you can feel better about your life outside of your free time. So, oh, today I'm not working, I can drive the fancy car around and everyone will think I'm cool. And they're all just end up becoming more traps and more things that cost more money and more time. And
Mm-hmm.
it's everyone I've met who's taken that leap of faith as you described, which it definitely is a leap. It's like running a full sprint and then knowing that you're going to jump over the Grand Canyon. And once you get to the other side, you're going to be there with everyone else who's made that same jump. But if you don't 100% believe in yourself and dedicate it, you're going to fall. You're
Yeah.
gonna plummet. But that's okay too, because you'll
Conviction.
climb back up and you will get to the other side.
Yeah, conviction is huge. And that's like how the last 2 presidents became, or the last, 3 presidents. Like it's about being convicted, and it doesn't, I mean, people are out there like they're being so convicted about really like material things,
Hmm.
and it's like the ones who
You got to
are
be the first to
brilliant.
believe in yourself.
Yeah, and drawing from that other realm, like you have to have enough, as much conviction, if not more, as, those people who are marketing their random bits of plastic, and like, yeah, that's one thing for me, definitely, that I'm probably like still working on, is like being convicted and being able to sit and share, with you, knowing that I might have something of value to say, and not undermining myself by thinking, well, it's already been done or it's already been said, It's like there's no one that is like you. There's no one that's like me. We're individual expressions, and every every person is needed to complete this beautiful pie of humanity, and so yeah.
And I mean that's to say that yeah, we're all connected, and it's amazing that if one person doesn't have their life together and they're kind of living like kind of a down, trodden life, how much that really affects every single person that's connected to them and how that echoes. And how just the act of, one person, chasing their dreams and being an inspiration and sharing their knowledge and pushing towards a dream really echoes and ripples out in people because like it's why superhero movies are so popular these days because we all want heroes, and what we need more than that is we need real heroes. We need real people. That's why maybe like Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and like some of these other people are good because it's like it's not just that he's a celebrity, it's that he seems like a good person, true and true, that you could put your trust in. And with all this corruption we have these days, and with media and like scandals and stuff, it seems like who do you put your trust in anymore? I think that's kind of what we're all going through. But
Right. And can we trust ourselves, and the impetus to even look within and trust that we do have that our crazy imagination is not just some like passing fleeting fantasy that we can just, write off as being weird, but that it has value, and that we can actually trust our soul's incarnation and message, and even express that and be supported. And that's kind of what I see more and more as people just, coming out young too, like just here I am, like, and they don't have the same barriers that people in previous generations had to express that level, which is awesome because it's really like exponentially just blossoming.
the tools have definitely never been easier for someone to like set up and create, and express their art and get it out there. And I think every generation is always going to have those go-getters that of all ages, or sometimes they figure it out a little later. But one thing's for certain is once you've accomplished one major task or climbed your first mountain, it gets really easy to walk down that mountain and then start climbing the next one. And getting back to you, I know that you just so you've been a professional performer now for as a fire performer for 10 years, and now you started another side business making headdresses.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
even came about just from a situation of like creating custom headdresses for Burning Man for Fire Conclave. Tell me about your headdresses a bit, because they are
So
quite amazing to look at.
thanks. Yeah. I don't even know how it really just, it's something that I guess I got into when I was working with Quixotic in a show in Miami, where I was kind of coming out in this really, it was a 1920 Parisian cabaret style, and I came out as this kind of Cleopatra figure with a fire headdress, and it was a Deathworks frame. And the frames, the fire headdress is only they only stay lit for like 2.5, 3 minutes at the most, depending on the size of the wicks. But these were kind of smaller wicks, and the piece was like 6 minutes long. So,
Could you describe what a fire headdress is? Like,
well, it's just a crown with wicks on the end, so that are a goodly amount away from your from
it's
your
probably
hair.
like 15 inches across by 30 inches. It kind of curves to the shape of your head, and it's all whole thing's made out of like welded steel and
Yeah,
wire.
right.
And then, but yours are fabulous because you decorate them.
Yeah, so that's why I got into decorating it, because the piece was 6 minutes long and the fire crown only burned for half of that. So I wanted it to look interesting for the part that it wasn't on fire. So I decked it out kind of Art Nouveau style and then wore it for the show. And then they asked me to deck out another one. And so then I did. And I was like, wow, this is really fun. It's very meditative. I've always made my own costumes. But there's something about making a crown for a queen, and or a king that is really fulfilling, because it kind of it brings about like an elevation of expression. And so then I just had people reach out to me about decorating their existing crowns, and I thought, and then I met up with my friend Tyson Summer, who we burned together also that year at Burning Man.
Shout out to Tyson.
Yeah, shout out. And I was like, hey, we should go into business, because he was welding those crowns. And so I've been designing crowns based on people's kind of general ideas, and then he's welding them and wicking them and painting them and sending them back to me and make them happen.
How many
So,
crowns have you made
God,
now?
I don't even know.
You don't
It's
even
been
know?
a
Wow.
lot. Yeah.
Couple dozen?
Uh,
Like 100?
Maybe, no,
No,
not
not
as
yet.
many as 100.
Not yet.
But yeah, quite a few.
And so if someone would be interested in getting a fully wicked fire crown from you, where would they find that?
At ish_factor.
Okay, can you spell it out?
Ish factor. ISH and then factor. It's like the it factor, but
Mm-hmm.
it's ish factor.
And that's on Instagram, and
Yeah,
you got a Facebook
Instagram and
profile?
Facebook. Mm-hmm. The ish
Excellent.
factor.
Do you have a website yet for that?
No, but I haven't really found like I needed one yet.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I will eventually.
Well, you probably will. I mean, once all these people tune in, they're all going to want a crown from you.
Yeah, but why can't they order through? Is it better to order through a website than just
Oh, I'm not
reach
saying
out to
that.
me?
I'm sorry.
I don't understand the need for a website. Enlighten me.
Oh, I was saying you're probably going to end up with a lot more orders now, is what I was saying.
Oh, good. Well, that's awesome. Because yeah, like it's so fulfilling. Like I say, like I can tune into a person's energy, and sometimes their ancestors come through when I'm making these crowns. It's like, wow, and
Mm-hmm.
it's such an honor for me then to like hand over this performance piece that I know they're gonna rock for years to come. And
Can you tell me
yeah.
about some of the spiritual energy that you put into one of your crowns?
I mean, just yeah, like that, like tuning into someone in particular, and just kind of allowing, not only the materials at hand to determine what I'm doing, but also like their energy, and but they're also like their previous lives, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes even just their DNA heritage and lineage. Going back, I've found some just things just come out, and I'm really conscious of trying not to copy anyone else's designs. I mean, it's all a circular universe, and we're all inspiraled along the way from somewhere. But I try to really make each one unique, and I hand wire everything on. It's all glass and metal, so it should stay there for a long time. And some of them are super blingy, and then some of them are more like kind of rootsy and tribal, and it's just kind of a matter of, I've been doing mostly custom work, so just taking pre-orders, and at some point I might, Tyson and I might just like make some extra ones just out of my own imagination or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Do you have any projects in mind that you've been envisioning?
a few, you'll
Yeah.
see.
Okay, so you got some surprises. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for talking to me. This has been a really enlightening interview. Do you have any other thoughts you'd like to say about fire performances or traveling or flow, yoga, any of it?
Well, thanks for having me. And, I think it's just beautiful to be included in this community. And it's always a blessing. And I always, take that into account whenever I'm offered a stage, is that it's a blessing to be able to share what I love to do and what I would be doing regardless of a stage. But to have that platform to be able to offer it to like people, and maybe inspire, even just one other person to create from their inner self, is such a blessing. It's such a gift. So I always stay in a place of gratitude, and just like being in this community, and, learning and teaching and just being a part of it. So thank you. And
Thank you. You're definitely incredibly grateful and humble as a person, and it shows in your art, and I think that's why it's taken you such amazing places, and I couldn't agree more. It's always a privilege to speak and have people listen, so definitely thank you to anybody else who's still listening to this podcast all the way through. We appreciate your time and listening to this, and I hope Ishani's inspired you in some way to, maybe quit your job and become an artist.
yeah.
Join and go to Burning Man and have a great time and experience life.
Yes.
Thank you, Ishani.
My pleasure.
Fire now. You got my attention. Is something burning?
If you want to support the All Things Fire podcast, head on over to patreon.com and search for Morgan Floki. Thank you for all your support, travelers. Have a great day.